The summer of 2018 found us in the land of pubs and potatoes, castles and conflicts, bogs and Blarney. Welcome to Ireland. The Trinity College Library houses the Book of Kells, an illustrated Latin manuscript of the 4 New Testament Gospels. It dates roughly to 800 AD and is considered the pinnacle of Western calligraphy. By the way, you might notice that the Emerald Isle isn't all that emerald. While we were there, Ireland was suffering a prolonged drought and heat wave. The National Museum of Ireland displays the treasures of Irish culture and archaeology. It may be most famous for the bog bodies. They're the remains of Iron Age people preserved in the acidic and oxygen-free peat bogs in Ireland. This is the best guess reconstruction of an ancient bog face. Archaeologists also found ancient preserved butter. Clonmacnoise on the River Shannon is the most important monastic site in Ireland. It dates to the 6th century and once was the most famous school in Europe, well before universities existed. Clonmacnoise was the chosen burial site for Irish kings, including Rory O'Connor, the last High King of Ireland. During the trip, Martin was in charge of the driving, while our excellent guide Jeremiah provided the information.
And look, as I say, we're out in Connemara, and we've hundreds of little lakes similar to this, and even smaller. And that's basically how the peat first started to form.
The next day we ventured out into the Atlantic, to the Aran Islands.
They didn't put a roof on it yet, no?
No.
We'll have to get them bloody Vikings back to finish it off, eh?
Is very unique. It's the only place in the country where you will see Mediterranean and alpine plants growing side by side.
On the way to Killarney, we stopped at the Burren, a large area covered by limestone slabs. There, Smithsonian leader Jenny told us about the megalithic portal tombs that date back as far as 4200 BC. After dinner, we watched champion dancers work off their dinner. The Ring of Kerry Drive can feature spectacular coastal and mountain scenery, but not today. The fog gradually thickened.
All right. Steady. Each dog is trained with its own signals, which are different. All right. All right. Keep left. Keep. If the dog is working at a distance, much easier communicate by whistle. If I'm out collecting sheep in reality, I take 3, maybe 4 dogs so I can change them if they're tired. And that is the reason the signals are different.
In local mythology, the Rock of Cashel was part of a mountain 20 miles north, until St. Patrick banished Satan from a cave and the Rock of Cashel landed here. It was the traditional fortress castle of the kings of Munster before the Norman invasion. They donated it to the church in the Middle Ages. Kilkenny Castle is owned by the Irish government, which maintains it as a historical site and art museum. Before that, the Butler family owned it for 600 years. St. Canice's is known for its black marble effigy tombs. Here lies Piers Butler, 8th Earl of Ormond. His history is complicated, involving appointment as High Sheriff, murder, the seizure of Kilkenny Castle, knighthood, Anne Boleyn's father, and 10 children, almost all of them with his wife. The church's round tower is the oldest standing structure in Kilkenny, dating to the 9th century. There are only 3 in the country that still can be climbed. Our farewell dinner was festive.
And when Irish eyes are smiling,
Let's all sing.
sure it's like the morning spring. 'Tis a lilt of Irish laughter, you can hear the angels sing.
It falls unto our lot, and we must rise and you must not. We gently rise and softly fall. Good night, and joy be with you all.
This has been an amazing trip. Honestly, it's been enjoyable. You're good, well, we'd say you're a good crack, you're good fun. Ira saying, good Naira and Boher live. May the road rise to meet you. I do not say goodbye until the next time.
Until the next
Sláinte.
time. Sláinte.
For 4 of us, there was more in store. With another local guide, we headed as far as Northern Ireland. But our first stop was Birr Castle, west of Dublin, well known to astronomers around the world. For 70 years, Birr was the home of the world's largest telescope, and was where astronomers first discovered the spiral nature of galaxies. The giant reflector was built by William Parsons, the 3rd Earl of Ross, in 1845. It could capture more light and see farther into space than any other had. It wasn't surpassed until 1917, when the 100-inch telescope on California's Mount Wilson saw first light. The Parsons family continued its interest in science. The 4th Earl measured the heat on the moon, and he and his mother pioneered photographic techniques. The castle's garden has box hedges more than 300 years old. The Guinness Book of Records names them the world's tallest. We toured the interior of the castle, parts of which date to the early 17th century. The 7th Earl of Ross lives in the castle today. We spotted him waiting in line behind some children at the ice cream stand. After Birr, we temporarily said goodbye to the Emerald Republic and entered a very different Northern Ireland. Orange was the new color, and loyalty to Great Britain was on display. First stop, the shipyard where the infamous Titanic was built. Then we ventured into the land of Protestant versus Catholic. If you, like we, thought that the Troubles were history, think again. Because our car had a Republic of Ireland license plate, it was safer to venture into the conflict area with a local cab driver. The Protestant neighborhoods still celebrate the 1690 victory of William of Orange over Catholic King James at the Battle of the Boyne. There are in-your-face displays for the more recent Ulster Defence Forces who fought the Catholic Irish Republican Army. The IRA wanted the British out of Northern Ireland. A wall still separates Protestants from Catholics. Gates are closed at night. The Catholic neighborhoods have their own in-your-face displays praising what they call their martyrs. They proclaim that British troops used rubber bullets against them that were not exactly harmless. A high fence still helps protect against the occasional item thrown towards Catholic homes near the border. Here, a high fence protects the police. But there are voices for unity and peace. Community women created this mural quilt to cover a paramilitary display. And there is a peace wall where people plead for both sides to get along. Northern Ireland does have much beauty, like the Antrim coast and the Giants Causway. At one stop to stretch our legs, we got an impromptu tour of a boat rescue station. A local legend says St. Patrick is buried near Down Cathedral. Back in the Irish Republic, we traveled to Newgrange. It's a Neolithic monument built about 3200 BC. That predates both Stonehenge and the pyramids. The entrance and interior passage align with the winter solstice. Human bones and offerings have been found inside, but it's unclear what the site was used for. It's also unclear what the carvings on the exterior stones represent. Afterwards, it was back to Dublin, then goodbye to Ireland.